This is not a guidebook or a system. It's a remembering. A remembering of the truth that has always lived inside you. That you are energy in motion, breath in form, presence becoming visible. You are not here to fix what is broken. You are here to feel what is real. To soften into your body. To awaken your breath. To come home to the part of you that has never been lost. This audiobook is not a teaching. It's an invitation. An invitation to slow down, to listen, to return to the intelligence already moving through you. You don't need to become someone else. You only need to remember who you are. Let these words be a mirror. Let them stir what is already known. Let them meet you exactly where you are. You are ready. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Let's begin. Chapter 1. You are the soul, not the story. When we begin the journey inward, we often do so from a place of seeking. Seeking healing. Seeking clarity. Seeking a reprieve from the weight of our own pain or the complexity of our stories. We stand at the threshold of transformation, believing there is some other version of ourselves we must become. But what if that isn't true? What if the truth isn't about becoming, but remembering? Remembering what we are, who we've always been. A soul in a body, animated by breath, held in the embrace of presence. For most of us, life taught us early on to trust the mind, to use it as a compass, to analyze and plan and strategize our way through. And so, we began to think of ourselves as the mind, as the thinker, as the voice in our head narrating our days and judging our every move. We crafted identities from that voice. The achiever, the fixer, the protector, the people pleaser. And though these roles may have helped us survive, they were never who we truly are. The truth, the real, radiant truth, is that beneath the layers of thought, beneath the roles we've played, there is a deeper self, a steady, glowing, eternal self, the soul. The soul is not a future destination, something we reach after enough meditation or spiritual practice. The soul is not a distant ideal. The soul is the origin, the foundation. It is the spark that was never extinguished, even when the world tried to cover it in doubt and fear. When we entered this life, when we landed, there was a split, a splatter of experience. The soul, the body, the mind, and the breath scattered slightly, each carrying a piece of our wholeness to navigate a sometimes overwhelming world. We attached to the mind. It was quick. It helped us solve, label, and survive. But in doing so, we forgot. We forgot the body as temple. We forgot the breath as guide. We forgot the soul as home. But there's good news. The forgetting is not permanent. It never is. The call to remember is always whispering, no matter how buried it gets. And once we begin to turn inward, truly inward, that whisper becomes a song. When you live from the soul, everything changes. The mind is no longer in charge. It becomes a listener. The body stops being a battleground and becomes a sanctuary. You begin to sense a rhythm beneath the chaos, a stillness beneath the noise. And in that stillness, truth arises. The soul doesn't operate in language. It moves in sensation, vibration, subtle awareness. It speaks not to the intellect, but to the intuition, to the body. When we pause long enough to feel, not think, we begin to hear the voice beneath all voices. A resonance that says, you are already enough. You've never been anything but enough. This is not an idea to believe. It's a reality to feel. It lives in your breath. It echoes in your spine. It pulses in your chest, waiting to be recognized. Most of the time, we don't hear it because we're trying too hard to fix what isn't broken. The soul doesn't want you to improve. It wants you to remember. And yet, the journey back isn't always soft. Sometimes it shakes us. Sometimes it strips away the very identities we've clung to for safety. But even in that unraveling, there is grace. Because what falls apart was never truly you. What dissolves was never real. And what remains, what always remains, is presence, is being, is soul. When we let the soul take its rightful seat at the center of our awareness, we begin to live differently. We no longer chase healing. We allow it. We no longer reach for answers. We listen for truth. We stop performing, proving, perfecting. We simply are. And in that being, the healing flows on its own. This is not passive. This is powerful. Because to embody the soul is to stand rooted in something unshakable. Something that doesn't need external permission or validation. Something that can hold both joy and grief, clarity and confusion, with equal presence. It means living from the inside out, letting your breath lead, letting your body become the instrument of your aliveness, not the obstacle to it. It means slowing down enough to notice the subtle, to trust the intuitive, to honor the sacred within the ordinary. You are not your trauma. You are not your resume. You are not the thoughts that loop endlessly through your mind. You are the presence witnessing them, the awareness beneath them, the stillness that has never moved. And when you start living from that place, not visiting it occasionally, but living from it, everything begins to shift. Relationships recalibrate. Priorities reorganize. The things that once felt urgent begin to feel optional. The things that once felt impossible begin to feel inevitable. Not because you changed your circumstances, but because you remembered who you are. This is the moment when your breath deepens without you trying, when your body relaxes into itself, when your nervous system stops bracing for impact, when peace is not something you chase, but something you become. You don't need to escape your life to find your soul. You need to meet your life as your soul. You don't need to be more spiritual. You need to be more you. Unfiltered, unapologetic, unhidden. And yes, there will be moments when the old stories try to reclaim you, when the fear returns, when the doubt gets loud. But now you will know that's not you. That's the echo of who you thought you needed to be. And in those moments, all you have to do is return to the breath, to the body, to the soul. Because the soul never left. It has only been waiting, patiently, lovingly, for you to come home. Chapter 2. From Effort to Essence. We live in a world that celebrates effort. We are taught from a young age that the harder we work, the more we achieve, the more we are worth. The culture glorifies hustle, rewards productivity, and idolizes intellectual mastery. But there comes a moment on the inner path when all of that starts to crack. When the striving no longer delivers peace. When the pushing only leads to exhaustion. When the effort itself becomes the very thing in the way. Because there is something deeper, something more essential, something that cannot be earned or forced or controlled. It can only be allowed, received, embodied. Essence. Essence is not something separate from you. It's what you are underneath the performance. It's what's left when the masks fall, when the tension releases, when the mind goes quiet. It's the truth of your being, not as an idea, but as a felt, living frequency that moves through your breath, your bones, your awareness. The shift from effort to essence is radical, not because it's complex, but because it asks you to stop trying. It asks you to soften, to ungrip, to surrender control. It invites you to trust something invisible, internal, intuitive, and to let that lead. You begin to realize that not all movement is alignment, that not all action is wisdom, That sometimes, in the name of growth, we are simply reinforcing the belief that we are not enough. But you are not here to prove your worth. You are here to live your truth. And your truth, your essence, is not found through striving. It's found in presence, in stillness, in the quiet moment between breaths where nothing needs to happen, and yet everything is possible. The body knows this. The body has always known. The body is not a machine to be managed, but a field of intelligence that is constantly listening, sensing, communicating. Your cells respond to your attention. Your posture mirrors your perception. Your breath reveals your alignment. When you slow down enough to notice, the body begins to speak. But it doesn't speak in concepts. It speaks in sensation, in heat, in pressure, in spaciousness, in chills, in the subtle yes and the quiet no, in the tight chest and the open heart, in the gut pull or the energetic expansion that tells you, without words, what is true. This is the language of essence, and it is always available, even when the mind is spinning. The challenge is that we've been taught to override it, to mistrust it, to value logic over intuition, analysis over instinct, thinking over feeling. We've built entire lives from the neck up, efficient but disconnected, productive but hollow. So when we begin to live from essence, it can feel unfamiliar, even threatening. The mind doesn't know how to quantify it. There's no to-do list for being. No guarantee for surrender. No metric for truth. And yet, when you allow it, when you drop beneath the mental noise and into the deep river of presence flowing through you, something begins to shift. You start to feel yourself again, not the version shaped by expectation, but the raw, unfiltered you that has never been separate from life itself. The breath is your ally here. The breath is always the bridge between effort and essence, between doing and being, between the surface and the depth. With every conscious inhale, you have the chance to reconnect, to soften, to listen. Try this. Inhale not just into your lungs, but into your belly, your back, your hips. Let the breath gather your awareness from the scattered places and bring it home. Then exhale down through your legs, into your feet, into the earth. Let it ground you. Let it remind you. You are supported. You don't have to hold it all. In this space of embodied breath, you access a different kind of intelligence. One that doesn't demand. One that doesn't rush. One that doesn't seek approval. It simply knows. It knows what is aligned. It knows when to act and when to wait. It knows how to move with life instead of against it. And the more you trust this knowing, the more coherent your life becomes. Not because everything is perfect, but because everything begins to resonate. Your choices feel cleaner. Your relationships feel more honest. Your nervous system feels less burdened by pretending. This isn't magic. It's physiology. It's energy. It's the natural byproduct of living from the core of your being instead of the periphery of your conditioning. When we shift from effort to essence, we become more effective, not less. But it's a different kind of effectiveness. It's not rooted in grind or stress or scarcity. It's rooted in alignment, in clarity, in the creative power that flows when you are no longer resisting yourself. And yes, the mind will resist. It will tell you you're being lazy, that you're falling behind, that if you don't keep pushing, everything will fall apart. But the more you listen to essence, the more you realize those voices are just echoes of old paradigms. They don't hold truth. They hold programming. Your job is not to argue with them. Your job is to stay anchored in what you know to be real, in what you feel to be true. This is the quiet revolution. It doesn't happen through force. It happens through presence, through breath, through the simple, courageous act of being who you are, without apology, without performance, without compromise. Let that be enough. Let yourself rest in the knowing that your worth is not tied to your output, that your value is not measured by your productivity, that your presence, your essence, is the most powerful force you carry. From this place, everything that matters will flow. The right conversations, the inspired actions, the deep connections. They don't need to be chased. They need to be met from essence. So let go. Let the effort fall away. Let the mind rest. Let the body speak. And let your essence lead. Chapter 3. Awakening through the body. There comes a point on every soul's journey where the outward search begins to feel hollow. The books, the teachers, the practices, all offer glimpses, but never the full experience. That's when something in us shifts. We stop reaching for the next answer, and we start turning inward, not with the mind, but with the body. Awakening does not begin in thought. It begins in sensation. It begins in presence. It begins when we allow ourselves to feel deeply, fully, honestly, without trying to change or fix anything. It begins through the body. For many, that moment of awakening arrives wrapped in discomfort. The body speaks in symptoms when the soul isn't being heard. Tension, fatigue, pain, aches that modern medicine might name, but never fully explain. Beneath these symptoms is often an invitation to stop escaping and to begin listening. The body is not a mistake. It is not a container we must escape in order to be spiritual. It is the very place our spirit is meant to reside. The human body is the soul's greatest instrument, ancient, wise, intelligent. It is not the obstacle to enlightenment. It is the gateway. For those who have lived mostly in their minds, returning to the body can feel strange at first. It may seem unfamiliar, even unsafe, but the body has always been here, patiently waiting. It remembers everything, every moment of joy, every contraction of fear, every breath we forgot to take. And it stores that memory in tissue, in posture, in sensation. We can learn to read it. The key is willingness. Not to analyze, but to feel. Not to decode, but to experience. Awakening through the body doesn't require years of study. It requires honesty, curiosity, and breath. One breath at a time, we begin to make contact with what we've ignored. We begin to enter the places we've abandoned, and in doing so, we begin to reclaim parts of ourselves we didn't know we'd lost. When I first sat in meditation, I brought all my mental habits with me. Striving, achieving, wanting to do it right. I thought presence was something I had to earn. But the body had other plans. The body invited me to soften, to surrender, to stop trying. And in one of those early moments of surrender, something profound occurred. I dropped below thought, below identity, below form. I became light, not metaphorically, but literally. I experienced myself as radiant awareness, expanded and still, warm and whole. It wasn't an escape from the body. It was an arrival into it. That moment didn't happen because I worked hard. It happened because I stopped working, because I stopped resisting what already was. This is the paradox of embodiment. The more we let go of effort, the more energy flows. The more we trust the intelligence of our breath, the more healing occurs. The more we listen to the body's natural rhythm, the more we realign with truth. Healing is not something we force. It is something we allow. The body wants to heal. The energy within us wants to move. The breath wants to open the places that feel tight, numb, or closed. When we stop interfering, when we stop overriding, the system recalibrates itself. I began to notice that my body was guiding me. A slight twist in the spine. a stretch I hadn't planned, a breath that moved through my belly and softened my chest. These weren't random. They were precise, intelligent movements, orchestrated by a part of me that existed far beneath my conscious mind. And so I followed. I let the body lead. I allowed it to unwind itself. I breathed into the discomfort instead of running from it. I felt sensations I had long avoided. And slowly, things began to change. Not just physically, but energetically. Symptoms I had carried for years began to dissolve. Not all at once, but steadily. My breath deepened. My nervous system softened. My energy returned. I began to understand that many of the body's challenges are not permanent conditions. They are frozen signals. Energy that was never allowed to move. Patterns that were once protective, but now obstructive. As I stayed with the sensations, as I met them with breath and awareness, I began to see them not as problems, but as portals. Portals into presence. Portals into power. This is what embodiment means. It is not about being spiritual despite the body. It is about being spiritual through the body. It is about letting the soul live here, in your cells, in your bones, in your choices. You are not here to escape the human. You are here to infuse the human with divinity. The breath is your anchor. The sensation is your guide. The willingness to feel is your gateway. You don't need to achieve anything. You don't need to wait for a future moment of worthiness. You are already inside the sacred. You are already whole. Every time you pause to feel instead of think, to breathe instead of brace, to allow instead of fix, you move closer to truth. You become more real, more alive, more you. And in that realness, in that aliveness, there is power. Not the power of control, but the power of coherence. The power of being fully where you are, with what is. You do not need to suffer more to awaken. You do not need to reach some higher level. You simply need to come home, to yourself, to your breath, to your body, to this moment where life is already waiting for you. Chapter 4. The body remembers the way. The body is not a problem to solve. It is not a burden to carry. It is not an obstacle in the way of your spiritual path. The body is the path. It is the ground where your truth meets the world. It holds every experience you've ever lived, not just as memory, but as energy. And in this energy, encoded in sensation, lives the map of your healing. We are taught to prioritize the mind, to solve life with logic, to explain, categorize, and diagnose. But the deepest truths don't live in the mind. They live in the body. The body doesn't speak in concepts or stories. It speaks in feeling, in pressure, in tightness, in warmth, in stillness, in subtle vibrations that reveal the presence of something real, something alive, something waiting. When something arises in your life, a moment of grief, a surge of anxiety, a decision that feels unclear, we are conditioned to ask why. Why am I feeling this way? What caused it? What do I need to fix? But these questions often trap us in the loop of the story. They keep us spinning in the mind, circling the surface. The more powerful question is where? Where do I feel this in my body? Where is this showing up? Where is this energy trying to move? Because every emotion, every pattern, every layer of your life has a physical echo. Joy has a place. Fear has a place. Suppressed truth has a place. You might feel it in your throat, in your chest, in your gut. These are not random sensations. They are the body's language of truth. And when you learn to listen, you begin to heal. This listening is not passive. It is presence. It is breath. It is the act of coming home to yourself again and again. Bring your attention to a part of your body that feels tight or closed. Not to fix it, but to meet it. Breathe into it. Feel it without the need for story. Let your breath wrap around it, like a gentle hand, and notice what happens. Maybe it softens. Maybe it stays the same. Maybe it opens just enough for you to feel what's underneath. This is the work. Not forcing change, but allowing truth. We've been taught to numb, to push, to distract ourselves from what we feel, to treat symptoms instead of meeting signals. But your body doesn't lie. It remembers. It remembers the moments you didn't speak your truth. It remembers the times you held your breath. It remembers the energy that got stuck because it had nowhere to go. And it's not trying to punish you. It's trying to guide you. The pain, the resistance, the contraction, they're invitations. Invitations to bring your awareness back, to love the places you once ignored, to inhabit the spaces you once abandoned. Awareness is the medicine. Breath is the doorway. Feeling is the key. When you bring attention to your body, when you breathe where it's tight, when you listen instead of resist, something begins to happen. The energy that was blocked begins to move. The story that was stuck begins to dissolve. The part of you that was frozen begins to thaw. This isn't theory. It's biology. It's physics. It's energy in motion. Emotion. And when emotion is allowed to move, the whole system recalibrates. You don't have to understand the origin of your pain to release it. You only need to feel it, to stay present with it long enough for it to be seen. Because what you welcome changes. What you reject freezes. The breath helps. Always. Your breath is a compass, a regulator, a bridge. When you breathe deeply and consciously, you send a message to your entire system. It's safe to feel. It's safe to be here. Over time, you begin to notice the effects. You respond instead of react. You soften instead of shut down. You trust your body instead of fearing it. You become intimate with your own sensations, not as threats, but as wisdom. And in that intimacy, you begin to remember who you are. You are not the tension. You are not the fatigue. You are not the diagnosis. You are the presence inside the body. The awareness that can hold discomfort without collapsing. The intelligence that can transmute pain into power. The more you meet yourself this way, the more your life begins to reflect it. External situations shift. Relationships recalibrate. Synchronicities increase. Not because you change the world around you, but because you aligned with the truth within you. Your body is not against you. It never has been. Even in pain, it's always been trying to show you something. To bring you back. To reconnect you with your essence. Healing isn't about eliminating symptoms. It's about reclaiming your space in your own system. About becoming so present with your body that your entire field begins to reorganize around truth. Around coherence. Around love. This is not about perfection. It's about permission. Permission to feel. Permission to be. Permission to trust the intelligence that is already flowing through you. So begin with one breath, one sensation, one moment of stillness, and let the body show you the way. Chapter 5. The energy that heals. You are not just a body. You are not just a mind. You are a field. A dynamic, intelligent, radiant field of energy that moves through and around you in every moment. It is not abstract or theoretical. It is tangible, measurable, and alive. It is the organizing principle of your being. A continuous current of life force designed to move, to flow, to guide, and to heal. This energy is not something you need to acquire. You are already it. You are already plugged into the universal intelligence that animates all life. But when that energy is interrupted, constricted, or rerouted by old patterns of fear, trauma, or resistance, It creates imbalance. That imbalance is what many experience as disconnection, confusion, fatigue, anxiety, or illness. The truth is, most of what we label as problems are simply symptoms of energy that wants to move but isn't allowed to. Energy that wants to rise, circulate, and express, but is met with resistance, tightness, or fear. When energy cannot complete its natural cycle through the body, up the spine, through the heart, out the crown, and looping back in, it begins to fragment. That fragmentation shows up as instability in the mind, tension in the body, and chaos in the nervous system. Healing begins when we stop trying to fix symptoms and start restoring flow. The human energy system functions like a torus, a spiraling fountain of life force that rises from the earth, travels through your center, expands outward, and returns to the source. When this field is coherent, you feel grounded, clear, inspired, connected. When it is disrupted, you may feel blocked, scattered, reactive, or shut down. But here's what's essential to understand. This system is not delicate. It is powerful. And it is always trying to return to balance, if you let it. The body was designed to heal. Your field was designed to self-correct. But for that to happen, you must learn to work with energy, not against it. You must learn to trust the language of sensation, the intelligence of breath, the wisdom of stillness. It starts with awareness. Bring your attention to your spine. Imagine it as a central channel, a conduit of energy from root to crown. This is not metaphor. This is the energetic architecture through which your life force flows. Feel into that space, not as an idea, but as a living current. Where does it feel open? Where does it feel blocked? You don't need to name or diagnose. You only need to notice. Now, breathe. Not just casually, but intentionally. Draw the breath up from the base of your spine to the top of your head. Then exhale down, through the body, into your legs, into your feet, into the earth. Let the breath circulate. Let it reawaken the toric field that may have been dormant. Let it restore your access to the healing energy that is already available. This is the beginning of realignment. Many people live disconnected from their own energy field, not because they're broken, but because they were never taught how to feel it. They were taught to focus outward, on tasks, roles, and results, while their inner world went unnoticed. But the body never stopped speaking. The field never stopped sending signals. And the moment you turn inward, the moment you start listening, everything starts to change. This is not about controlling energy. It's about collaborating with it. When you meet a blocked area, a contraction in the gut, a tightness in the chest, a pressure behind the eyes, don't push it away. Don't try to fix it. Breathe into it. Bring your full attention there. Welcome it like a guest, because that sensation is not your enemy. It is your body's way of saying, here, this is where the energy is trying to move. And as you breathe, as you listen, as you soften, the resistance begins to release. The energy begins to flow. Not always in a rush. Sometimes in gentle pulses. Sometimes in waves. But it moves. And with that movement comes coherence, clarity, healing. This is not performance. It's presence. You don't need to be good at it. You only need to be with it. Some of the blocks you encounter may not even be yours. They may be ancestral patterns, inherited beliefs, or collective energies you've absorbed over time. But it doesn't matter where they came from. What matters is that they are moving now, through your breath, through your body, through your choice to meet them with compassion instead of fear. The more you engage your energy system in this way, the more your external life begins to reflect the change. You make decisions from alignment instead of anxiety. You move with clarity instead of confusion. Your body feels more alive, your thoughts more spacious, your presence more grounded, and you begin to trust something deeper. Not a concept, not a doctrine, but an experience of yourself as whole, vibrant, and infinitely capable of healing. This is the true medicine, not found in escape, but in embodiment. Not found in perfection, but in permission. Permission to feel, permission to breathe, permission to remember what has always been true. You are energy. You are light. You are a living, intelligent field of consciousness, breathing itself into form. And when you live as that, healing is no longer something you seek. It becomes something you allow, something you embody. Let yourself begin. Not with a goal, but with breath. Not with effort, but with willingness. Let your body lead. Let the energy rise. Let the healing happen, not through force, but through flow. The current is already moving. You only need to say yes. Chapter 6. Breath as the bridge. Breath is not just air moving in and out of the lungs. It is not simply the mechanical function of survival. Breath is the living thread that connects body to soul, mind to heart, heaven to earth. It is the bridge, steady, sacred, ever-present, between the seen and the unseen. When we begin to relate to the breath as a conscious partner rather than an unconscious habit, we unlock a portal into healing, presence, and profound transformation. Most people breathe just enough to survive. Shallow, unconscious, reactive. Their breath mirrors their state of being. Rushed, anxious, guarded. But the breath can do so much more. It can soften old armor. It can open closed spaces. It can stabilize an overactive mind. It can bring you back to yourself when everything else pulls you away. Breath is the most immediate access point to your nervous system. With every inhale and exhale, you are sending a signal to your body. Either safety or threat, presence or resistance, permission or suppression. And the more aware you become of your breath, the more powerfully you can guide your energy, not by force, but by flow. Imagine this. You're in a moment of tension. Your thoughts are swirling. Your body is tight. The natural impulse might be to clamp down, to control. But if you pause, feel your feet on the floor, and take one long, slow breath into your belly, something changes. Your system responds. The mind doesn't quiet because you told it to. It quiets because the body now feels safe enough to let go. The breath speaks the language of trust. When you inhale deeply and fully, you open. When you exhale slowly and completely, you release. This simple rhythm, inhale, open, exhale, release, becomes a dance between surrender and power. It's not just biology. It's devotion. It's presence. This is why breath is so central in spiritual and healing traditions across the world. It has always been sacred. Known by many names, prana, ruach, ki, spiritus, breath has been seen as the very essence of life. Not just what animates the body, but what connects us to something far greater than the body. To breathe consciously is to return to that connection. It is to remember that life is not happening to you. It is happening through you. And the breath is how you feel that truth in your body. Try this practice. Sit or lie comfortably. Close your eyes. Inhale from above your head, drawing the breath through the crown, down through your forehead, your throat, your heart, your belly. Then exhale down through your pelvis, your legs, your feet, into the earth. Let the breath create a vertical current, a channel of light and energy that connects the sky and the ground within you. With each round, feel yourself becoming more rooted and more expanded at the same time. Feel the way the breath moves energy through the places that have been stagnant. Notice the subtle shifts, the ease that begins to enter, the warmth, the clarity, the return. This is not imagination. It is embodiment. It is remembering that the breath is more than a physiological necessity. It is a tool of awakening. In my own experience, the breath has led me through states of expansion I didn't know were possible. Times when I surrendered completely to the rhythm of breathing, and my body began to move on its own. Not from thought, but from intuition. My spine would rotate. My ribs would open. My shoulders would drop. It was as if the breath itself was unwinding years of tension, recalibrating my whole system. I wasn't doing the breathing. The breath was breathing me, and in those moments, I realized that this force, this gentle, powerful, sacred rhythm, knows exactly what to do. It doesn't need control. It needs trust. And when I gave it that trust, it responded with healing, insight, peace. This is available to everyone. No special training, no guru. Just breath and willingness. Breath is also a mirror. It reveals. When your breath is shallow, your body is likely guarded. When your breath is held, you are likely bracing. When your breath is full and smooth, you are in alignment. So pay attention. Listen. Let the breath show you where you're gripping, where you're resisting, where you've forgotten how to feel. And then gently begin again. Inhale into those places. Exhale from those places. Not to fix, but to be with. Not to force, but to allow. Because breath is not here to control you. It is here to free you. As you deepen your relationship with breath, life begins to reorganize. You respond rather than react. You pause rather than panic. You feel more grounded in your body, more clear in your choices. You begin to live not from the turbulence of the mind, but from the coherence of the soul. This isn't something you have to master. It's something you return to. Again and again. One breath at a time. When you feel overwhelmed, breathe. When you feel disconnected, breathe. When you feel like you've lost yourself, breathe. Because breath is not just the beginning, it is the way home. Let your breath lead. Let it teach you how to soften. Let it show you how to open. Let it remind you that healing doesn't require effort, only presence. And in that presence, everything you've been searching for begins to arrive, not from the outside, but from within. Chapter 7. Living from Presence. There is a quiet moment in every inner journey when the striving stops. When the trying, the fixing, the proving, all fall away. Not because we've achieved perfection, but because we've finally seen through the illusion that anything was missing to begin with. In that space, something ancient and essential awakens. Presence. Presence is not a concept. It's not an idea to understand or a technique to master. Presence is a way of being. It is the felt experience of your awareness inhabiting your body, your breath, this moment. Nothing added, nothing taken away. Just the truth of you, unfiltered, undistracted, undeniable. Living from presence is not about being calm all the time. It's not about floating through life untouched by difficulty. It's about being fully here, even when things are messy, uncertain, or painful. It's about staying with yourself instead of abandoning yourself. It's about choosing to meet life with openness rather than resistance. Most people live in a constant state of reaction. They're pulled by fear, driven by obligation, consumed by thought. The mind races ahead or loops behind, rarely resting in the now. But the now is where life happens. The now is where truth lives. And the body, unlike the mind, is always in the now. That's why the body is your greatest ally on the path of presence. It doesn't care about your story. It doesn't believe your excuses. It doesn't live in the past or the future. It lives here, and it will bring you back to here, again and again, if you let it. Try it now. Feel your feet. Notice the weight of your body. Bring your awareness to your breath, not to change it, but just to notice it. Inhale. Exhale. That's it. You are now in presence. Not because you learned something new, but because you remembered something eternal. From presence, clarity arises. From presence, wisdom speaks. From presence, love becomes natural. It's not that challenges disappear. It's that your relationship to them changes. You no longer see discomfort as something to avoid, but as something to meet. Emotions become messengers. Sensations become signals. And even pain becomes a guide. Living from presence doesn't mean rejecting the mind. It means placing it in its rightful role. As a servant, not a master. The mind can help you plan, reflect, communicate. But it cannot live for you. It cannot feel for you. It cannot touch the rawness and beauty of existence the way your breath and body can. You've likely had moments when presence found you, walking in nature, watching a sunset, holding someone you love. In those moments, time seemed to slow, the need to become dissolved. You weren't trying to be anything. You just were. And it felt like enough. More than enough. It felt like home. The invitation now is to make that home your resting place, not just in special moments, but in ordinary ones. Washing dishes, sitting in traffic, having a difficult conversation. Can you be present here too? Because presence doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It meets life as it is. To live this way is to become deeply intimate with yourself. You begin to sense your own rhythm, your own truth. You make choices not from pressure, but from alignment. You stop needing constant validation because your own awareness is enough, and others feel it. Presence is magnetic. It's grounding. It's healing. Not because you're saying the right words, but because you're being real. Fully here. Fully you. This doesn't mean you won't be triggered. You will. But now, you'll know how to pause, how to breathe, how to come back. Presence doesn't eliminate the storm. It brings you to the eye of it. Calm, centered, clear. The more you live from this place, the less effort life requires. Not because life becomes easier, but because you are no longer at war with it. You've stopped resisting what is. You've stopped demanding the moment be different before you'll accept it. Presence is acceptance. Not passive resignation, but deep alignment. It's the recognition that this moment, just as it is enough. You don't need to escape your life to find peace. You need to enter it more fully. That means feeling what's here, naming what's real, honoring your energy, setting boundaries not from fear, but from love, letting go of what drains you, moving toward what nourishes you, letting your inner sense of resonance guide the way. This is the path of presence. It's not always easy, but it's always true. And it's available right now. Not after you've healed everything, not after you've figured it all out. Now. So ask yourself, can I be here without needing to change anything? Can I breathe into this moment and let it be enough? Can I trust that my awareness is already medicine? You are not here to master the future or fix the past. You are here to live now, to love from now, to heal through now. Presence is your power, and it's always just one breath away. Chapter 8. You are already whole. Healing is often misunderstood. We imagine it as a long uphill battle, something we must strive toward, a goal we reach only after we've done enough inner work, shed enough pain, or become someone better than we are now. But healing is not becoming someone else. Healing is returning to who you've always been. And beneath every story, every wound, every belief in brokenness, There is a deeper truth waiting patiently to be remembered. You are already whole. Wholeness is not something you earn. It is not conditional. It doesn't arrive with perfection or enlightenment. It is the foundation of your being, untouched, unchanged by what you've lived, what you've lost, or what you've believed about yourself. Most of us were taught that healing is linear, that it happens in steps, that it makes us feel better all the time. But real healing is wild. It spirals. It surges and pauses. It brings to the surface what has been hidden, not to punish us, but to be seen, to be loved, to be integrated. You may ask, if I am already whole, then why do I feel this pain? Why do I carry these wounds? Why does it seem like so much of me is still broken? The answer is simple, though not always easy to accept. Your pain is not proof of your brokenness. It is proof of your aliveness. It is the intelligence of life surfacing to be met with presence. Your symptoms, your grief, your fear, they are not signs that something is wrong. They are invitations. Invitations back to wholeness. And wholeness does not mean you never hurt. It means you are no longer defined by the hurt. When you believe you are broken, you treat yourself like a project. You try to fix what isn't working. You strive to erase the parts of you that feel unworthy. But wholeness doesn't require editing. It requires embracing. Even the parts you wish weren't there, especially those parts. Because every part of you is carrying information. Every part of you has a purpose. What you call resistance is often protection. What you call dysfunction is often adaptation. And what you call brokenness is often brilliance that hasn't been allowed to fully shine. The body knows this. The breath knows this. Every cell, every nerve, every emotion, all of it is organized around a deeper intelligence. And when you create the space to listen, to feel, to honor rather than resist, that intelligence begins to speak. You cannot access your wholeness through control. You access it through allowing. So allow. Allow yourself to be messy. Allow yourself to feel deeply. Allow yourself to not have it all figured out. Because healing doesn't come from tightness. It comes from trust. It comes from the moment you stop striving and start softening. The moment you stop hiding and start inhabiting. The moment you meet yourself exactly where you are and say, I am willing to be with this. From that place, things begin to shift. Not because you pushed them, but because you welcomed them. The body relaxes, the mind quiets, the nervous system unbraces, and what emerges is not a new version of you, but a truer one. One that was always there beneath the performance and the pain. This is the paradox. Healing isn't about changing who you are. It's about becoming more of who you are. It's about removing what is not you, the conditioning, the self-judgment, the inherited beliefs, and revealing what has always been true beneath it all. Wholeness isn't static. It's dynamic. It breathes. It evolves. It expands and contracts like the tides. And it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real. So stop waiting to arrive at some imaginary finish line. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not less than. You are here, and here is enough. This doesn't mean you stop growing. Growth is natural, but growth from wholeness is different than growth from lack. When you know you are already whole, you no longer grow to prove your worth. You grow to express your essence. You grow to bring more of your light into the world. And that light doesn't need to look any particular way. It doesn't need to be loud or polished or dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as choosing kindness over judgment, as gentle as pausing for breath before reacting, as quiet as staying present when everything in you wants to run. These are acts of wholeness. Not because they're perfect, but because they're aligned. The more you live from this space, the more you begin to trust life. Not blindly, but deeply. You trust that even your challenges have purpose, that even your contractions carry wisdom, that even your uncertainty is a doorway to something real. You stop fighting yourself. You stop performing. You stop abandoning your body, your breath, your truth, and you start returning. Again and again. To this moment. To this breath. To this self. And you discover that nothing was ever missing. That the love you've been searching for is already within you. That the peace you've been chasing has always been just one breath away. So breathe. Not to get anywhere. Not to be anyone. Just to be right here, as you are, already whole. Chapter 9. Becoming the bridge. There comes a point on the path when you can no longer pretend not to know what you now know. You've touched something real, something vast, something sacred, and that knowing cannot be undone. You've seen through the illusion of separation. You've felt the pulse of truth in your bones. You've remembered, even if for a moment, who and what you truly are. And from that moment forward, everything begins to shift. What once felt fulfilling now feels hollow. What once seemed important now fades in significance. You begin to sense that your life is no longer about achievement or performance, but about alignment, about expression, about integration. This is the call to become the bridge. To become the bridge is not to abandon the world for the soul, or the soul for the world. It is to hold both, to walk between the realms, grounded in the body and lit by the spirit. It is to bring the unseen into the seen, the sacred into the ordinary, the infinite into the human. You are here not to escape your life, but to embody the fullness of your being within it. This can be disorienting at first. The systems and structures around you, careers, relationships, cultural norms, may not yet resonate with the frequency you now live in. You may feel the tension between what the world expects and what your soul knows. You may feel pulled to contract back into the familiar, to dim your light, to delay your truth. But you've come too far for that now. You cannot shrink once you've expanded. You cannot unknow the wisdom in your cells. You cannot unfeel the sacredness of your breath. The soul, once remembered, will keep whispering, urging you to live from coherence, from integrity, from essence. To become the bridge is to live as presence in a world of distraction. It's not always comfortable. You may be met with resistance, misunderstanding, even loneliness. But you are not here to be understood. You are here to be, fully, authentically, relentlessly true to what you carry inside. This path doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. It asks you to show up, honestly, consistently, courageously, to listen deeply, to speak from the heart, to let your life become an expression of the energy that animates you. When you live this way, you become a tuning fork for truth. You walk into spaces and shift the energy without saying a word. You bring calm where there is chaos. You bring depth where there is noise. You bring embodiment where there is performance. Not by trying, but by being. This is the power of congruence. When your inner and outer worlds align, life begins to reorganize around you. Not because you force it, but because you are it. People will feel you. Some will be drawn to you. Others may be triggered by you. That is not your responsibility. Your only responsibility is to stay aligned, to stay anchored, to keep breathing. You may not always have the words. You may not always feel clear. But if you keep returning to your body, to your breath, to the seat of your soul, you will always find your way. Because you are the way. You are the bridge between heaven and earth, between silence and sound, between the soul and the self. To Live as this bridge is to honor your humanness while embodying your divinity. It is to feel deeply without drowning, to act consciously without controlling, to love fiercely without losing yourself. It is to let your body be the altar and your breath the prayer. You will still feel fear. That's part of the path. But now, you know how to meet it. You know how to listen without collapsing. You know how to soften without disappearing. You know how to feel without losing your center. This is maturity. Not spiritual performance, but grounded embodiment. Not transcending the world, but transforming it from within. You are not here to be above life. You are here to infuse it with light. Let your conversations carry presence. Let your silence carry peace. Let your choices reflect truth. Let your boundaries protect your energy, not as walls, but as sacred containers. And when you forget, and you will, return. Return to the breath. Return to the body. Return to the still place within you that knows. You don't need to be loud to make an impact. Your presence is enough. Your alignment is enough. Your quiet integrity is enough. And from this space, everything becomes sacred. The way you make tea, the way you listen, the way you hold space for someone without needing to fix them. These are acts of healing. These are acts of revolution. You are not here to save the world. You are here to become what the world forgot it needed. A living, breathing example of what is possible when the soul is allowed to lead. So walk gently. Speak truthfully. Love fully. And keep becoming the bridge. Chapter 10. Coming home to you. There comes a moment, not always loud or dramatic, when the seeking stops, when the questions begin to fade, when the desire to get somewhere softens, and what remains is a quiet truth. Everything you were chasing out there has always lived in here. Not in theory, not in hope, but in your breath, in your body, in the space you occupy right now. This is not the end of growth. It is the beginning of embodiment. Coming home to yourself is not a destination. It's a recognition, a remembering, a return. It's the moment you realize that presence, not perfection, is the point. That being, not becoming, is the real power. You no longer need to perform. You no longer need to carry the weight of not enough. You no longer need to split yourself between who you are and who you think you should be, because you are already here. And that is enough. When you live from this knowing, life doesn't stop being life. The dishes still need washing. Deadlines still exist. Grief still visits. But your relationship to it all changes. You meet the moment from wholeness, not from striving. You move with the rhythm of your own soul rather than the demands of expectation. You begin to walk differently, not because you've rehearsed it, but because your steps are grounded in truth. You speak differently, not to impress, but to express what is real. You rest differently, not to escape, but to honor your own rhythm. This is mastery, but not the kind the world teaches. Not the mastery of control, dominance, or achievement. This is the mastery of surrender, of softness, of presence. You begin to trust the silence as much as the answers. You stop looking for signs and start feeling them. You stop chasing healing and start living it. The body becomes your anchor. The breath becomes your teacher. Your inner sense becomes the compass. You don't need to understand everything to move forward. You only need to be here, fully, honestly, unapologetically. Coming home doesn't mean you never feel lost. It means that even when you do, you know the way back. The path isn't outside of you. It's not in someone else's system or story. It's in your breath. It's in the way your chest rises when you tell the truth. It's in the way your gut tightens when something isn't aligned. It's in the tears that fall without explanation and the peace that follows them. You begin to honor your sensitivity instead of hiding it. You protect your energy instead of pushing through. You soften your edges instead of building new armor. You become intimate with your own needs, your own voice, your own sacred timing, and the world begins to reflect it. You find yourself surrounded by people who nourish rather than deplete. You make choices that resonate instead of impress. You say no more easily. You say yes more fully. You begin to live as you, not as the mask you once thought was necessary. This is not a small shift. It is a radical act of self-remembering, and it has nothing to do with arriving at perfection. You will still feel fear. You will still be challenged. But now, you no longer abandon yourself in those moments. You stay. You breathe. You meet the fear as a friend. You meet the discomfort as a doorway. You begin to notice that even the hard moments carry wisdom, that the pain has shape and texture and message, that everything can be part of your return, not because it all feels good, but because you are finally with yourself through it all. You stop needing to control outcomes. You stop waiting for certainty. You stop outsourcing your peace. You begin to live as though your life is sacred, because it is. You feel it in the pause between thoughts, in the sensation of breath moving through your ribs, in the sound of your feet on the floor. You are no longer performing your life. You are inhabiting it. That changes everything. You become the calm in the storm. You become the exhale in the room. You become the presence others feel safe around. Not because you're trying to be anything, but because you've stopped trying to be what you're not. The most revolutionary thing you can do is to come home to yourself, fully, honestly, lovingly, to stop running, to stop striving, to stop negotiating your worth, and to say, with your whole being, I am here. I am enough. I am whole. From here, love flows more freely. Creativity arises more naturally. Connection deepens. Action becomes inspired, not forced. You live from fullness, not from lack. You live from integrity, not image. You live from the present, not the past. So take this moment. Place a hand on your heart. Feel your breath. Feel your weight. Feel the ground beneath you. And remember, you are not broken. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are home. And from here, you begin again. Not to become someone else, but to embody more fully who you've always been. Thank you for listening.